I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The date is June 15th. The time is 4:01. With us today, we have Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bug, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item is 23-0437, approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on May 25th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to make a comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. We're going to skip real quick on the order here. We're going to go to the last one first, and then we'll go to normal order after that. So the first one we're going to address is 23-0472, a resolution to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora for a possible land donation adjacent to Garfield Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer. So today before you is a request to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora. The land being considered for due diligence is the city-owned property immediately east, adjacent to Garfield Park on Leonard's Avenue. You may know it's primarily open space with the exception of some tennis courts that are there. So the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora are here, representatives, and there's a PowerPoint presentation that they presented to the Development Services team, I believe sometime in April, so they will go through that. But basically, this is step one in sort of an exploratory process for the Boys and Girls Club to have access to the property, evaluate it to construct an up to $40 million facility, which they will go into some detail, to serve up to 450 youth a day from youth all across the Aurora municipal areas and all school districts. So we, at this point, have provided you with the draft MOU that they also have approved, subject to council approval. Later on, within the time period listed, the up to 1 year, the Boys and Girls Club will let us know if they want to move forward, and then we would create mutually, again with council approval, a donation agreement where the city would donate the land in a more formal document, subject to all the permits and approvals of any other development of a project that size. So I did put in some other details, but I think I would rather cede the time to the Boys and Girls Club to cover that in detail. So we have Mr. Larry Robinson from the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Larry Henderson. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora, which also represents the Boys and Girls Club in Schaumburg, Elgin, Streamwood, Hanover Park, South Elgin, all the way down here to Aurora. An executive summary, sort of an overview of what we're talking about, is what I would like to call in America's gross domestic product, America's greatest asset. One of the reasons why I'm proud to work for the Boys and Girls Club is because America's greatest asset is not the automobiles that we produce, it's not oil that we generate, but it's our children. That's America's greatest asset. Boys and Girls Club has serviced over 40 million young people in its history, and we are the largest youth development organization in the United States of America that services our youth after school and in the summertime. And so what we're embarking on, what we would like to do here in the city of Aurora is quite monumental. We would like to build a 45,000 square foot facility, as Alex also spoke about earlier, on the east side of the street in Garfield Park. To get an idea about how large that is, we currently have 3 clubhouses throughout the region, and this clubhouse is twice the size of those clubhouses. The young people that we service every day, we're servicing young people this summer, even as we speak, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Every young person that we service attends our clubhouses and attends our sites for free. We have not only 3 clubhouses, but also over 30 sites where the children are serviced in schools themselves. And all of those children are serviced for free. They also receive a meal after school, and they also are able to receive 3 meals during the summertime. One thing that people don't realize about our young people is that there are many young people, like I was a latchkey kid, that don't have anybody to make them a healthy meal after school. My mother worked second shift, which was pretty much the evening, for about 5 years when I was a young person. That meant that I was responsible to make sure that my brother and I ate. As you can imagine, there were not many healthy meals involved in that transaction. And so this is what we're doing. We're having an adult who cares for kids after school and during the summertime, who can make sure that they do their homework, who can make sure that they have healthy meals, and they can make sure that they have someone who actually cares about them until their loved ones are able to come home and care for them. Our mission is really simple. What we look for in the state of Illinois is the next demographic of young people, those young people that need us most, and we set up camp there. That's what we do. We begin to gather donors. We begin to gather key stakeholders. We begin to work with city officials and organizations in the area who will be champions for our young people. That's what young people are looking for. Young people are looking for who will be their champion to make sure that they become the next doctor, lawyer, attorney, school teacher, librarian, etc., for young people who may not have a chance unless someone sees them. And so that's what we're in the business of doing. We're in the business of servicing those young people, especially those that need us most. I know this is a little bit hard to see, but we have the statistics nationally as well as statewide. Just to summarize it for you, it's really simple. About 90% of the young people that we serve expect to graduate high school. About 90% of the young people we serve do graduate high school. About 90% of the young people that we serve, if they're not going to college after high school, have been exposed to and are on track for some kind of workforce development program. And so we're very proud of that at the Boys and Girls Club, and the statistics that represent the work that we do, and which is a way to advance and progress the health and welfare of the young people in any region that we enter into. We're very big on partnering locally. It's not just about the Boys and Girls Club. People ask us this all the time. Will the Boys and Girls Club come and take all the resources in the region? And the answer to that is no. We're very big on partnering with other not-for-profits in the area to make sure that there is equality to resources. We very much want other not-for-profits that are in the business of youth services and youth development to partner with us. There's logistics that we cannot cover on our own, so we have to partner with school districts. We are very adept to partnering with school districts right now. One of our largest partners is U46 School District, which is the second largest school district in the state of Illinois. And of course, you guys have 4 school districts here. And so we very much are in the business of manicuring the relationships with those school districts to make sure that we're well integrated in the community from a logistics perspective. Why the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora? It's really simple. Our mission is to service young people, especially those that need us most. The city of Aurora is the largest city in the state of Illinois that does not have a Boys and Girls Club. That means that this is the next population of young people in the entire state that need us. And so we cannot do them a disservice by not being there for them. Why connect with the current Boys and Girls Club? The Boys and Girls Club of America does not create any new charters because it's too hard to service young people correctly with startup organizations. And so what the Boys and Girls Club of America does is when a new Boys and Girls Club is needed, it partners with a Boys and Girls Club in the area that has a star track record on developing young people, developing connections in the region, and then that charter is added to an existing charter. Thus, we've already created and we've been going strong here with the Boys and Girls Club of Aurora. Here are some of our programs. As you might imagine, of course, we're big on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as STEAM, which includes an art program. We're very big on character development and citizenship, arts and crafts and recreation, academic success, and of course, we love workforce. Love workforce development as well. All of our programming is tried and true, and you can see that we have things like Power Hour, which most parents who are working want their kids to do their homework when they're not present. The Boys and Girls Club has to be fun, especially for teenagers, especially for young people who have their own transportation. They simply will not come and participate unless it's fun. And so we have one of the highest ratings in the nation as an organization for organizations that young people think is fun and safe and helps them do their homework and gives them a healthy meal. This is just an example of that schedule. We've already been working. The Boys and Girls Club of Aurora's Board of Directors has already raised hundreds of thousands of dollars already. That board already exists. We're already in the school system here on the east side of Aurora. Here's a list of the footprint that we already have. So we've already serviced young people this past academic school year in 3 elementary schools as well as 2 middle schools. Here's a list of our current board of directors that is already hard at work, and you can see an example of the partnerships that we create in the community. Some of our great board members are back behind me already. They're very supportive, and they're quite frankly very good at the job that they've done so far. We've already begun. We're in 2023, and so here's just a roadmap of the work that we've already done so that you can take a look at that. We did not choose the site because we like to partner with people. As I said, the city of Aurora chose the site, and so we believe in the city believing in the site just as much as we do, and so we thought about what would be that ideal club site. Of course, we've talked about being on the east side of Aurora at Garfield Park near the schools that we're already serving in a demographic area where kids are that need us the most. Of course, this is the same neighborhood where our own mayor of Aurora grew up in. You can see some of the pictures of that and some idea of what that neighborhood represents. Here's a map of Garfield Park as we're looking at the east side of the street where the tennis court currently is. That's where we're thinking about erecting that 45,000 square foot building. Here is an example of how our current spaces look at our current clubhouses, and what, if you can imagine it, in the new clubhouse, the space that you see on the screen will be twice as large because the need for children is twice as large, and so the need for those spaces will be twice as large as the examples that you see before you. Here's an architectural representation of what the new clubhouse will look like, and I think you'll agree that the clubhouse is quite frankly stunning and beautiful, and something that the neighborhood will be proud to have in their neighborhood. It's also a place where the young people will be proud to come and be glad to call their home, which is what young people ultimately do. As they begin to come to the clubhouse, they'll consider it their family, and then they'll consider it their home. Here's a rendition from a couple of different sides of I don't know if you can see the young lady that's standing on the sidewalk with the floating balloon, but I'm sure she'll be there and be happy to greet you when you get there. Here's an example of the $18 million budget. This is just a draft budget. We've already received 5 bids from $18 million to $22 million, and so this is an example of a realistic budget as to what it will take to build a building this size, which will service about 500 kids a day. Here's an example of how our naming rights program will be set up, as we'll use this MOU to go out and begin to ask people to donate to this project, which is going to service children, especially those that need us most. And here's just an example timeline so that you can kind of see where we are. By August, we're going to begin to go into our quiet period where we'll get those first donors to begin to sign on to this project, and then we will begin to get a campaign team whose responsibility regionally will begin to go out and get support regionally, even in Aurora and even outside of Aurora, to make sure that we have a robust coalition of people from all of the college and universities, all of the main stakeholders and investors, the 4 school systems, et cetera, to make sure that this project is a success. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. If you have any questions, that'd be great.
Mr. Alexander, do you want to finish up?
Just a couple of additional comments. Thank you, Larry, very much for the presentation. 2 things. The location, we believe, is centrally located and easily accessible to the entire city. We also have plans to update significantly Garfield Park. As you know, we consider Garfield Park one of our legacy parks. And so the combination of hopefully this type of facility adjacent to the park, which would also allow us to co-program, and there's been some discussion about some partnerships, especially with a lot of the sponsorship opportunities that the National Boys and Girls Club bring to their local clubs. And if you see, for example, and I would encourage all of you to visit, for example, the new South Elgin facility, which was a real model between local government and the Boys and Girls Club cooperation. About half the size, but the impact is tremendous. They serve about 250 kids a day. And it was very important for us. We're not looking to compete or duplicate services of our local well-established partners. So this is not casting aspersions at school districts or park districts. In fact, they're coming in and they have a track record in the other communities they're in of partnering with park districts, partnering with school districts, all to fill the much-needed gap in coverage that we need for our youth today. And there's an emphasis on mental health. There's an emphasis on socialization, on good nutrition, on exercise. And the fact that we can turn sort of that area with Garfield Park, refresh it, refresh the athletic facilities, the amenities there, and really help revitalize and stabilize not just that area, but youth programming, enhancing and adding to what we have. And, you know, we have great folks out there working at the township level, at the park district level, at the school level. This council for years has supported youth programming in Aurora, especially over the summer months. So this is another way that the city can partner. And the ask is the donation of the property. So we are going to wait, hopefully with the approval of the MOU, their due diligence, and then coming back. And as I indicated in the documents, this again is all subject to further approval of a donation agreement, a formal one that would come back through council. And then, of course, if they proceed, all the permitting and design and everything that would normally go into a project of this size.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Alexander. Thank you for that thorough presentation. Obviously, this is a wonderful cause, and we appreciate you bringing it to Aurora because, as you said, we have a lot of people in Aurora and a lot of kids with needs, and that would obviously, as Alex said, enhance the opportunities they have with the other institutions. Do we have any questions from the council? Alderwoman Bade.
Thank you, Chairman. In future, will we have possibility of expansion? Right now, you're planning to serve 450 students per day, but if the need arises, will you be able to like make it bigger or expand?
The clubhouse can service more than 450 kids a day. We pretty much need a youth development person for every 15 kids that we serve. And so as long as 5,000 square feet could service 1,000 kids, but as long as we have enough staff to service the young people safely, then we'll be able to expand beyond 450.
And there is, I'm sorry, there is, even with the footprint they're proposing, there is other additional land available for future expansion.
Yes.
But part of the due diligence is what do they want in their footprint initially? Are there going to be additional ball fields or soccer fields? And I think part of what interested them in the site is the accessibility also to Garfield Park across the street. So the one thing that will be a must is that the existing tennis courts that are there will have to be incorporated into the site, and they're aware of that. And we're getting more requests for pickleball.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm
That
certain
is
there'll
great.
be some pickleball elements between Garfield Park and this development.
And there will be a special way to address the sidewalk crossing from the club to the park.
Again, part of the master planning for Garfield and that whole area, and if this goes, will include, we've kind of already talked to Ken and his team, enhanced crosswalks, new sidewalks. Again, picture an entire refresh for that section. And keep in mind, too, that the fire station there is scheduled to be moved as part of the fire station planning. So that will likely convert to parking for all the extra amenities that are going in as planned at Garfield as well. So it's going to refresh the whole area.
Thank you. That's good.
Alderman Bug?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing in Elgin and want to bring here. You say you have, you're reaching out to the 4 school districts. Actually, there's more than 4. Don't want to leave out Batavia and Canelan. They're very important to us. But I see in your presentation, of course, you're established in East Aurora schools. On your board, you have the West Aurora, one of the principals. What relationship right now in your reaching out to Indian Prairie have you had at this point, the SD 308 to this point? And we'll reach out to Canelan and Batavia later, but let's talk about those two. What relationships do you have with those school districts at this point?
When we begin to build our campaign committee, this project is a part of a $30 million fundraising campaign, because it's going to take not just money for the clubhouse itself, but also master planning for sustainability dollars as well. And so when we build our campaign committee, all of those school districts that you mentioned, will reach out to them so that they can be a part of the coalition that will not only raise money, but that will begin to build the relationships necessary to sustain the total ecosystem of the project.
Okay, I appreciate that. But what, you came into existence in March of 2022, to this point, in these 15 months, have we reached out to those 2 school districts? I didn't see anybody on the board necessarily directly related from those school districts. So have we reached out to them yet?
I don't know personally whether there's someone has reached out to them, but it won't take anything to reach out to them and even get them a part of the current board.
Okay. Well, I would, as we move this forward, I would highly recommend that we start to build those relationships now.
Got it.
Not wait for our campaign. My next question is really just for Alex. It has nothing to do with you, sir. Definitely appreciate this. I'm all about the kids. So I think the question that is going to come up is with our long-standing, current, existing groups. The question will be, what do they need to do to have a piece of land donated for them? And what that process looks like, because this group is new to the game. 15 months old. And they got a lot of skin in the game. They've done a great job in 15 months. But we've had groups here for decades. Some have been looking for buildings, or prior administration, we talked about Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, trying to work a community thing for them and to get them a building or something. We've talked about a lot of different things that, for different reasons didn't come to pass. But so if a group came now and asked, what do we need to do to possibly get a building or land or something, just briefly, what does that process look like, and how did the process go a little bit with the Boys and Girls Club?
So I'm not sure I understand which groups you're talking about. I think I understand what you're saying, that groups like Boys and Girls Club. The process basically is they can contact the city, contact the mayor's office. We treat this much like any other potential development that has interest in coming to the city. That's why we told them right off the bat to have a development services team meeting, which they did. Certainly, we would welcome any group that has the track record, the mission, the intent that Boys and Girls Club. So they may be new to the game to the Aurora area, but we've checked what they've done in other communities in Illinois, and they've been stellar. The work they've done being embedded in 129 has been outstanding, and we've checked with them as well. And they have a commitment to reach out and incorporate all youth, regardless of which school district they're in. So that's pretty much what happened here. The group contacted the mayor's office. We went and toured South Elgin. I did not go, but I think somebody else went to, was it Streamwood? Is that the other, what are your other? Schaumburg. Schaumburg, I'm sorry. And they see that there's a need here. We looked at internally a number of locations, but while we were looking to refresh Garfield Park, we realized, wait a second, this property to the east is city property, unencumbered, except for the tennis courts. And so we are looking to the state and OSLAD grants to fund, hopefully, the Garfield Park renovation. And then there seem to be some natural connections with what they bring in other places. They have a tremendous relationship with Major League Baseball. So people got excited around the prospect that the ball fields at Garfield could be significantly upgraded with that partnership. And then just the entire proven program that they bring to the clubs. And all you have to do is spend some time in one of these clubs and talk to the kids, talk to the families, and the impact they have on the community. It's real, and it's something that, again, casting no aspersions to any of our other very trusted and valuable partners, this will help augment and fill in gaps, these services. So if Boy Scouts or any other group wants to come, no different than what we did at Wilder Park, where we have monuments over there. Groups came to us, paid 100%. The council agreed to donate some land. Now that's attracting people, led to kind of a renaissance of Wilder Park. We're looking for this to have that same impact on a park that really needs it, and it's near and dear to a lot of people's heart.
Okay, thank you. Tell me just the approximate value of the land that, it's down the road here a few.
Yeah,
But
we're working on establishing that.
Okay.
At this point, I honestly didn't want to spend that money if I didn't have to until they really showed us. Now, they've obviously spent some money on renderings and that.
Yeah.
So economic development we'll have that, might even have it by the council meeting, but
Okay.
we're where we need to have that number.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing no other questions, do we have a motion on that resolution?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Alderwoman Bay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 3-0. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it. And you can tell Alderman Warman to come back in. Alderman Warman recuse himself. Next item on the agenda is 23-0447, an ordinance amending section 48-57 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Aurora, effective July 1st, 2023, and establishing the utility rates for water and sewer services provided within the city thereafter. Mr. Minnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Aurora. Each 2 years, the city performs an analysis of water rates and costs of operations and major capital projects related to the water treatment plant, the water distribution system, and the sanitary sewer collection system. This analysis is based on a cost of services model that was developed by an outside international consultant many years ago during a formal rate study process and has been in use for many years here at the city. The model takes into account present and anticipated customer classifications and counts, billing volumes, revenues, and operating and capital costs to evaluate the rate structure for the water and sewer utility. The goal of the rate structure is to maintain a rate which applies steady, lower increases over time, rather than large rate increases at intermittent intervals. It also is to allow for sufficient revenues to meet costs of providing services for both operational and capital needs. And the third goal of the model is to maintain a rate structure which allocates costs equitably based on costs to serve differing customer classes and allocates between fixed and variable costs. The city has a demonstrated history of prudent rate decisions in light of prevailing general economic conditions. Rates were frozen in 2020 and increased slightly in 2021 in response to COVID and the economic hardships created by the pandemic. Staff has performed an analysis and updated the model for the most current revenue, cost, and project information based on actual experience since the last update 2 years ago. Based on this analysis, we do anticipate increasing costs for operational and capital needs over the next few years. The model indicates that 6% or a 6% total revenue increase over each of the next 2 years will be necessary to cover the increased costs of the utility. The rate structure that's proposed in the packet and enclosed today has been modeled accordingly. Under the recommended rate structure, the residential combined water and sewer volumetric charge would increase from $5.80 per 100 cubic feet of consumption to $6.20 per 100 cubic feet for 2023, and then from $6.20 to $6.60 per 100 cubic feet of consumption for 2024. It's worthy of note that only the volumetric charges are increasing. The fixed availability charge will remain $21.05 for all customer classes over the next 2 years. This is significant because the increase is tied to consumption. Lower use customers will actually see a lower impact on their bill, and there is a bill comparison that's included in the packet that was distributed today. Additionally, operations and variable cost items are where we have seen the largest increases in recent years, primarily chemicals and electricity. The proposed rate structure would mean an increase of approximately $2.40 per month, or about $4.80 per bi-monthly billing period to the average residential customer, and the average residential customer uses approximately 1,200 cubic feet per billing period. This represents an increase in the bill of approximately 5.3%. Since the increase impacts only volumetric charges, as stated a moment ago, the less a customer consumes, the lower the impact to the bill. A low-use customer who has usage of approximately 600 cubic feet per billing period would see an increase of approximately $1.20 per month, or about 4% of their total bill. Senior citizens qualifying for the senior exemption would experience an increase of approximately 60 cents per month, or $1.20 per two-month billing period. This represents an increase of about 3%. Senior citizens qualifying for this exemption actually receive a 50% credit on the volumetric charges that appear on their water bill. Non-residential volumetric rates are increasing from $5.60 per 100 cubic feet to $6.15 for 2023, and from $6.15 for 2023 to $6.70 for 2024. The 2024 increase will make the non-residential rate actually slightly higher than the residential rate. It will be 10 cents more per 100 cubic feet of consumption. On average, large commercial entities would experience a rate increase of approximately 9.5% on their average bill for each of the 2 years covered by the proposed increase. And again, overall, the proposed changes in the rate structure would provide approximately 6% more revenue system-wide in each of the next 2 fiscal years. The model and process followed are consistent with the steps taken in prior years, and the proposed rate structure allows us to cover anticipated operating and capital costs over the next 2 years. Staff does recommend approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments from the council? Alderman Bug?
I have one. I just have a suggestion.
Okay.
So, of course, no one likes to raise any rates on the citizens. That goes without saying. And going through these numbers, everything seems to be in line. I think we gloss over a little bit the fact that the chemicals went up. I think we need to stress that, and I think that needs to be fully explained.
Yeah.
Years ago, when the old BGI committee used to exist, Dave Schumacher would walk in with the chemicals and he would say, this is what we need, this is how much it went up, and this is the reason that we have these incremental bump ups here. I know that some chemicals almost doubled in price in the last, since COVID started. So I think when people start to understand in those terms, I think they can swallow it a little bit better rather than just you're raising the water 6%. So
Okay.
I think some of that information from our friends over at Water Sewer and you know, the different divisions could help us explain this a little bit better to our residents.
Thank you, Alderman. And you are correct. We have seen quite an increase. And in fact, I believe in total, chemicals have doubled since approximately 2021. So there is a significant run-up in those costs. And I will put a little bit more of that into the explanation as we move forward in the process.
Thank you.
I would also ask that, because whenever you raise prices, people want to know what other towns, municipalities are paying. So if we can get some comparatives for other towns, what they pay, however we want to metric it, whether it be a week, month, you know, I don't know how they do their billing, but something that's comparative, just so we can say, yeah, it went up, but look where we are reference others. It's, you know, it's right in line, whatever the case may be. So I think comparisons, certainly when they favor us, are a good thing to have to the public to make sure that they know that, you know, we pay this, but you could be worse. And that's kind of what they want to hear sometimes. Go ahead, Mr. Henry.
I'm sorry, I would just caution against making a broad generalization of comparisons to other towns, because not all other towns have the water production system that we have. And secondly, I think to Alderman Bugg's point, we have incorporated the tremendous increases. They're reflected in the memo, but more importantly, they're reflected in the water rate recommendations. For COW, we'll bring more of that out. And if you still would like us to compare to other towns, it's just not always apples to apples. So we have a process that a lot of other towns don't. I think the closest town to us is Elgin that has a lime softening. So we're happy to maybe provide some comparables to similar water systems. Some other folks, as you know, take from Lake Michigan. And that is slippery slope, to say the
Right,
least.
well, if we can
So-
compare apples to apples, good, and it's
Yeah.
on us as the representatives in the community to say, you may see somebody else is cheaper, however, this is what we do extra. So that's, we'll explain it, we just.
And
gotta
we're
get the
happy to
information.
explain that.
We can- Yeah, because we can go in depth. We know what our water
Absolutely.
treatment system does. So we can say, oh, we may be a little bit higher than Naperville or Oswego, but look at what we got. So that's on us today. So whatever information you give us, we'll.
We can present it that way.
Okay. that's fine.
Absolutely.
Sure. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one
Alderman Warman?
clarification, I guess. So this rate increase is based solely just our increased costs. Is that more the day-to-day operating costs? Is this for capital projects? Because, I mean, everywhere you drive, you see them replacing water mains and
Yeah.
everything like that too. So is it more the operational chemicals and what have you? Or is it a combination of both? or-
It's a combination of the both, actually. Yeah, and we do, you're correct, we do have some aggressive capital maintenance and things of that nature that also go into that. But, yeah, we did see, as Alderman Buggan indicated, quite an increase in the operational as well. So it's a combination of the two.
And again, I think that would be something to point out as well too, is, especially with, Aurora, center of the town's much older than, the east or west side, and, replacing those pipes are expensive, and
Yes.
maybe something added with that too. Obviously, personally, I know that, but some of the folks that are listening live or online or whatever may want to hear exactly what it costs for the capital improvements each year that we do, so.
And again, we, just as a reminder, we did, out of respect for what was happening in 20 and 21, we did lower rates. And that was a conscious decision, recommendation by staff that the council approved. Unfortunately, given the nature of the system, the costs, we can't continue to do that. So we were very careful this time not to whipsaw the other way and try and make it all up in one fell swoop. So I think staff's done a great job analyzing this and stepping it over the 2 years. So, but just a reminder that we had those 2 years that we put through at lower rates.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
So moved to approve.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Bug, second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 23-0468, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2022, amendment number 2 for the 2022 fiscal year.
Good afternoon. Stacy Peterson, Director of Financial Operations. What you have in front of you is the final budget amendment for fiscal year 2022. This is a routine budget amendment that we do in conjunction with finalization of the audit. Again, as in the past, there's an attached Exhibit A that shows the line items. And then in the memo section of the Legistar item, I list out what items correspond to the Excel spreadsheet. Just to briefly go over some of the main ones, every year we do a true-up of the CDBG home program and block grant income and revenue based on the final allocation. Those are actually numbers 1 and 2, 23 and 27 for the home program of $2 million, $2,093,200, sorry. And then the block grant is also one of the major ones that we do the true up for, which is items 4, 32, and 38. And this is $1,571,000. Periodically, we also review the audit and make adjustments for various transfers to cover accrued costs associated with property and casualty, which is items 8 and 10. Also for funds for employee compensated benefits, items 9 and 11, which is $6 million for accrued sick and severance. Moving down further to some of the other items, on occasion, we have union contract, collective bargaining agreements that are delayed and get settled in several years past their expiration. And items 16, 17, and 19 reflect retroactive pay for settling of police and fire agreements. Number 19 relates to salaries for overtime for police officers, adjusting the overtime costs are greater than they were expected by $2 million. And then items 39, 41, 42 were previously approved economic development agreements for various TIF programs. And this is just amending the budget for those expenditures that were incurred in 2022. Also, we did a bond issue last year. There's a couple of items related to that for the issuance of debt. Those are items 750 through 56 for the $15,660,000 2022 AGO bond. And then also one of the main items that we did at the end of 2022 was authorizing a grant from ARPA funds to the Aurora Civic Center Authority for $5,500,000. And if you have any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bug?
Yeah, just one. On item 15, refresh my recollection, who was Aurora Mart?
That was the name of the LLC. Let me.
Are they known under a
They're
different
a
name?
different.
Foremost? Yeah.
It's
it was-
Foremost Liquors.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I couldn't find them. Okay. And they did a development agreement?
They had an economic incentive agreement, I believe, to redo the facade, as I recall, Alex? Yes, I'm getting thumbs up from the back. So, yes, they had a redevelopment agreement where they redid the facade of the store. I believe it was more related to sales tax, as I recall, was it not? Yes.
Okay. So the sales tax abatement was 50 grand? I'm just trying to work out the numbers on this thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. Trevor Dick, Assistant Director. Thank you, Alderman Bug. I'm sorry, I was just trying to remember, talking to the rest of the staff. Yes, it was a sales tax sharing agreement to help pay for the facades. It used to be the Aurora Market Liquor Store, and now it's Foremost Liquors. And it was done maybe about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, probably
It also
about that
included
timeframe.
the, oh, thank you. Thank you. It also included the, in 21, thank you. It included the improvements of the upper floor as well for residential, and also improved the parking lot and restriped it and added in some new dumpster screening.
Okay, that comes with 50,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion by Alderman Buck, I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second.
Alderman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank you, Stacy. Next item is 23-0374, resolution authorizing a 2-year project management professional services agreement with Crow LLP, 225 Wacker Drive, Chicago, in the amount of $392,000.
Good afternoon, Chairman Franco, members of the committee. Jeff Anderson, City's Deputy CIO. The city has used Crow, estimates I got from Mr. Alexandru was roughly 20 years in professional services. They've been around for a very long time. They know how the city does business. We have used them on a PMO, Project Management Office, as a service arrangement the last couple of years where we've done single years at a time. And this is an extension of that to now look 2 years out. Knowing what we're looking to do, potentially replacing an ERP, potentially looking at replacing CAD and or RMS systems for public safety. This is just locking them into that longer arrangement, which ultimately the 1,400 hours they're talking about there comes out to about 2/3 of an FTE for the city during that time frame. And if you look at the list, if you look at the list of projects we have in here, we use them on strategic, larger projects that are across multiple departments or things that are specific around public safety.
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bug,
Second.
second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Next one is 23-0450, resolution establishing a fee schedule for raffle licenses related to Chapter 25, Section 8 raffles of the Code of Ordinances.
Hello, Jennifer Stallings, City Clerk. This is the fee schedule that will accompany the item that some of you saw at the RAP committee meeting last week, I believe, or the week before, regarding the updates to the raffle ordinance. As you may recall, we are proposing that the fee schedule be removed from the ordinance and from the Code of Ordinances and entered by separate resolution. That being said, Exhibit A is an example of what the resolution will contain. Very few changes, but for some cleanup changes to clarify. One thing that I did notice after uploading this is that the less than $500 in that first box should say $500 and less.
Okay.
Other than that, just the other clarifying changes. This is,
okay, I'm
sorry, this is set to go on, if approved, go on COW at the same time as the other item that was passed through RAP.
So I have a question. We have a licensing fee of $5
Yes.
from 500 to $501. So what does it cost us for a license? Isn't it more than $5 worth of staff time? I mean, it just seems like such a small amount. That's almost like, why are we even doing that? I mean,
Yeah.
does it cover our expenses?
I don't know that it necessarily covers our expenses. It's not a real-time or labor-intensive process. It can be when people haven't submitted the appropriate paperwork, but I did pull out, I had the same question, and I did pull out some of the surrounding areas, the cities and even the county, and most of them do something similar. King County's $14 for 500 to 5,000. Everything else is pretty much on par with what we do.
It just seemed like a small amount, because you put something in an envelope, might cost you $5 to mail a darn thing, so I was just kind of wondering about that, but if that's what the going rate is, then so be it, I guess. All right, any other questions or comments? Alderman Buck.
How do we ascertain our magical 50/50 pots?
How did we what?
How do we ascertain a fee or, I mean, I guess up front, they just won't get the raffle, but many times, you go into an
Sure.
event and it's a 50/50 raffle. That's what they're selling tickets for, and they hope that they build that thing up to whatever, more than $500, I think. So how do we work with those who want to do the 50/50 raffles?
So the application, we actually ask them to give their best estimate. Some of them, in good circumstances, are only selling a limited number of tickets. So it's easy for them to figure out what the total aggregate prize value will be. Otherwise, the only thing that we have to look back on is we ask them for, after they're done, they have to give us a summary of everything. And if their prize value far exceeded what they estimated, the next time they come back, then we will point that out to them. I don't know that we've had that necessarily be an issue at this point, but when the prizes get up there pretty high, it's relevant.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Alderwoman Bade, second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0458, a resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant award of $294,657.51 from the U.S. Department of Justice COPS Office to enhance the Aurora Police Department Crisis Intervention Unit.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council. My name is Lieutenant Bill Rowley. I'm the Administrative Services Lieutenant for the Police Department. Last year around this time, we found a funding source that would help us work on funding for our co-response model. That is a model that we use clinicians and social workers in concert with our CIT-trained police officers to respond to mental health crises in the community. That's a team that's currently supported through FSA and Elgin. They supply some social workers for us, and we've been looking for some funding sources to keep that program alive and kicking. It's very important to the community, of course, and it's important to the Aurora Police Department. We found that funding source through the Department of Justice COPS office, made that application, was notified that we received the grant award in late October. Of that $293,000, about $273,000 of that dollar amount is earmarked for personnel costs related to our CIT team advancement and expansion. The remainder of that is going to go towards things like training for our CIT officers and our social worker staff, and some certifications that are necessary and some ancillary costs that go along with that. We are in the process of working on that's going to be in concert with this grant, and also we have a public hearing that's going to be coming up here at the end of the month in front of council.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee?
I have a question.
Alderwoman Bade?
Thank you, Chairman. Is this an ongoing type of grant, or it's just one time only, and we?
That's a great question. You know, typically, and especially federal grants, their attitude regarding this type of funding is that they would like to see us use this funding as sort of a Kickstarter for a program, especially if we're looking to either begin a new program or expand a current program. So we don't really look at this as something that's sustainable. So the idea being is that we're going to use this grant for the 24-month period that we've been allotted, with the idea that we're going to eventually look for operating funds or other funding opportunities to continue the program. It's that important to us that we're going to keep looking either way. But I don't see us going back to the COPS office and DOJ for continued funding, at least not through this avenue after this grant period.
And this will help us in establishing our own in City of Aurora.
Well, we have an established unit crisis intervention model now. What we're really looking to do is expand on that model a little bit. We've been working with a co-response model for a couple of years now, and we've also have specially trained police officers who work well with crisis intervention and intervening with folks who are in the mental health crisis. But really, what we need is a clinician or a series of clinicians that can help really get us in there and get help to the folks that need it. And that's something that's sort of beyond the scope of what your garden variety police officer can do. So this unit looks to sort of meet those needs in the community, and that's something that we really need that co-response model for. So this is something that's important, I think, to the community. It's certainly important to the police department. So regardless of the funding source, we know that not only do we need to keep it going, but we need to expand it.
Thank you, officer.
Mr. Alexander, you might want to piggyback on that?
Let me just add to Lieutenant Rowley, we actually may be coming to you sooner rather than later for additional funding before the 24 budget, but at the very least, we will be asking for funding in the 24 budget through decision package for additional social workers to expand. Our grant writer and our team, our lobbyists, continue to look for additional grants wherever we can. but it's important to us to build on the success of this model, this co-response model between well-trained, responsive officers and skilled, either licensed clinical social workers or MSWs, master social workers. So we're going to be expanding the program because it's needed and it's been successful. It's just now a matter of timing and funding and actually, making sure we have access to top people who want to do this kind of work. But it's been successful to date, so we actually had a meeting this morning about it, and we may be coming to you a bit sooner. We're continuing to complete the agreement with the FSA folks out of Elgin. They've been great partners, so we'll see where it all winds up. But our goal definitely is to expand the program, and we'll see. I can't really predict the future, whether it's going to be a combination of a grant fund and city-funded, contractors, city employees. We're still working that out. But right now, these individuals who work in the PD are employees of the FSA from Elgin.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Alderwoman Bade. Wait a second. Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Next one is 23-0466, a resolution authorizing execution of a property purchase and sale contract for a property at 101 North Lake and 102 North River Street.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. Alex Minella, Senior Planner with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. So before you tonight, an ordinance that will authorize what the staff would describe as a strategic acquisition of the real estate located at 101 North Lake Street and 102 North River Street, further defined in the legal description and maps attached in your packet. Now, in order to fully, let me just locate. In order to fully comprehend the scope of this acquisition and frame this discussion, I'm projecting you a couple of slides, a couple of pictures, pretty pictures that will explain the thought process that staff has put forward in the past months and years. Now, this is representing the vision of the redevelopment of the east and west bank of along the Fox River. Now, these pictures helped staff meeting with prospect developers and developers that came to fruition to shape form, shape, size, and magnitude of the developments that are going to take place, that have been approved. So this site on the East Bank, 101 North Broadway, used to be, and is still as of right now, at the current state, a parking lot. This site, thanks to those visions, those drawings, will be, and has been approved to be a mixed use, a residential development. Let me go back one more time. So this has been approved for 246 units. This land, this piece of land, was purchased by the developer at $1.8 million. The site is about 2 acres, $1.8 million. We'll go back to this. Same train of thoughts. This is the visioning for the West Bank. You will see several other buildings, but the one that will pertain the next slide is the northern parcel by the landing of the bridge. Well, this drawing led to an approved RDA and plans that are in the process of being approved for this piece of land, 2.9 acres, $1.6 million valued, appraised, and negotiated with the developer. $1.6 million, $2.9 acres. Why am I pointing at acreage and valuations? We'll get to it in a moment. 190 units to be built. This is what council members have approved. But also, let me refresh the memory, just to provide you a broader spectrum, a broader landscape of cases to value our assumptions and what we are bringing forward. So a couple of years ago, slightly over, we purchased 50 acres of land, 45 acres of land off of Bilter Road. Now, the sale price overall was $9.7 million, which sets the price per square foot at $5 per square foot. Now, at today's market, we already made our return on investment on the real estate, because if we consider the market sales price in the general area, a site off of Viola was sold for $10 per square foot. So we already made our return. Now, with the same train of thoughts, staff believed that acquiring the piece of land at the northeast corner of Lake Street and New York Street, formerly known as the West Suburban Bank, would be a strategic acquisition for the city. This piece of land, this real estate, is almost like, let's consider it Main and Main, on the westerly boundaries of the downtown and downtown fringe. 19,000 square feet of existing building and 2.6 acres of land, vacant for 2 years now, prime space. Again, Lake Street, New York Street, and River Street to the east. We already know that some development is taking place just to the northeast of it, and we have land to the east that we own that might be at play in the future. We don't know yet. Well, why we would like to bring forward the purchase of this real estate? Well, we did do our due diligence. We looked at data, we looked at comparables, and like I said, I stressed the acreage versus the evaluation of the land being acquired by DEC and being traded, quote unquote, with windfall, meaning we gave land in return as a packet of incentives. And by controlling this piece of land, we can control the use, going beyond the only zoning control level that we might have. We are the owner. We would become the owners of this land, and we can have an additional level of discretion as to who gets what and when. And of course, we are looking at the return on investment, as we regularly do as a best practice and regular practice in our daily operations. But we are also looking at ensuring that the community and the city will benefit from any development that will come after the acquisition of the land. Now, in summary, we would be purchasing this piece of land for $1.6 million. These funds will come from the gaming tax fund. The land has currently an estimated value per appraisals of anywhere between $2.6 and $3 million. Right off the bat, we know we would be buying this piece of land much lower than the market value. So what does that give to the city, to the taxpayers? This would give synergy with the Paramount and the Copley Theater once developed. And not only that, we are ensuring, and we would ensure that enough parking spaces will still be on the site to ensure the operation of local restaurants, the River Edge Park, and the overall synergy and landscape in the downtown. And by controlling this piece of land with future developments, we would also ensure that rent prices per square foot would be increased. Now again, how would we would be seeing the return of our investment? Well, in property taxes once developed, okay? Not only. If this becomes an hospitality business or mixed use or residential, whatever the case might be, we would see property taxes or sales taxes, food and beverage taxes. And this expenditure of $1.6 million would be amortized over 20 years at 5%. We have an estimation of what this piece of land would generate in taxes. Currently, the site generates about $30,000 in taxes, just to give you a perspective. And also will eliminate the $12,000 a year in parking lease. So right now, the city leases the easterly portion of the site to accommodate and to cope with the needs of River Edge Park, ECA, all those operations. And like I said earlier, the city will maintain control and ownership to ensure the adequate parking in downtown. With this being said, I'll be more than happy to answer any question.
So, Alex, thank you for painting that picture of our successes by, I think we've probably been on this course for like 10 years, controlling properties, especially in downtown, but other places for the benefit of our taxpayers. Because as we've seen historically, I think this is kind of what you're going to, prior to the last couple of decades, it was willy-nilly around here. People would buy properties, sit on them forever, hope for that pot of gold, and we didn't know what was going to go in there. So I think that what we're talking about here is controlling our own destiny, which has worked out very well for us in the past, and going forward, apparently that's what we're looking at here. So I just want to make sure we all connected the dots, because that's kind of what's has happened over here the last couple of decades for the betterment for us. So buying properties, controlling our destiny downtown is really the way to go, and that's kind of what we've been doing. So thanks for putting that all together for everybody. Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bate.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Alex, for a great presentation. If we were to allow River Edge Park to use the parking, do we need any fixing before that, or it's ready to use? What is the condition of the property?
The property, the parking lot would need a minor resurfacing on the eastern lot, on the eastern two lots, the existing parking lot, and that would be taken care of by operation by our departments.
Okay.
The property has been inspected by staff, and it's it was and it is upkept, so it's in good condition, operational. All mechanicals, roof, the parking lot is still seal coated, so we would expect the parking lot as it is in the current status to be in working condition and usable.
And you mentioned currently it is valued at 2.6 or $3 million.
That is
that we are
the
getting
price
to.
range, the appraisal range that is was assessed in anywhere between 2.6 and 3. Let me go back. 3 million, roughly over $3 million.
Okay.
And we would be buying it at 1.6.
1.6. Okay.
To give you another point of reference, we bought 101 North River, the former BB's, and the DAS properties to the north of this site, and the price range, the appraisal values were anywhere between $20 and $22 per square foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Alderwoman Bay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Alex. Is there anything else to come before the Finance Committee today?
Moved in.
Hearing none, we have a motion by Alderman Bug to adjourn. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a second by Alderman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we're adjourned at 5:14. Thank you.